The Rising Senior scheduling presentation. So a couple of points of note before we get started. If you are a student who has to go to STC, so there's a select few of you who may be in this audience, please excuse yourselves at the appropriate time. And we will put a course selection sheet in your hands so that you can catch the bus or travel up to STC in a timely fashion here this morning. The same for those of you who may be in a dual enrollment situation here this morning. If you have a class that you need to get to, please make sure to just excuse yourself so that you can get where you need to go and stay on your typical schedule there, so that we don't disrupt too much. So we're going to get kicked off here with our Rising Senior Scheduling presentation. And before we do that, I just want to kind of clue you guys into why we do this. Why do we meet with you in a large group? And that is to kind of set the stage, notify you a little bit about the scheduling process that we are going to use. And as part of our process, you get to sit down and meet individually with your counselor during this process. But the first part of the process is to come to a large class meeting, so that for those of you who may not even know who your counselor is, you'll at least get a name today. Unfortunately, most of our counselors are at a district-wide counseling meeting today, so they are not in attendance. Typically, they are here. However, they are at Northport High School this morning, attending a professional development opportunity. However, we'll still connect a name for you, so that when you meet with them individually, here you'll get a better understanding of who they are and who you should be chatting with. The reason the counselors are so important to this process is, quite frankly, as you go into your senior year, and really you started it this year, we're planning for your future. Okay, so if you're going to college, if you're going into the workforce, there's certain things or certain courses that you should look to take in order to help prepare you best for what you want to do in the future. Now, some of you, trust me, you may not have a great understanding of where you want to go. Others, you may say, yes, I know specifically what I want to do. But I think for the most part, you probably have kind of an idea as to the direction you're headed with your career, or at least your interests. And so we try at Venice High School to connect you with as many courses and as many opportunities as possible, so that you can engage in courses that are of interest to you and will help you in the future. So today is the first step as we embark upon that process. So I want to introduce a couple of kind of key players here this morning, so that you have an understanding of who's with you. But we have our guidance department chair, Mrs. Slayton. So let's give Mrs. Slayton a round of applause here. Next to her, we have, has anybody in here read through their ELA classroom, Heart of Darkness by Joseph Conrad? No? Nobody's even heard of it? See, I date myself. So at any rate, I was chatting with one of your assistant principals about a week ago, and I said, oh, Dr. Livingston, I presume, and she looked at me probably like you guys are looking at me right now, and I said, oh, I can see you haven't read Heart of Darkness then. So she said no, but she majored in social studies, so she had an understanding of what I was talking about. So if you get a chance, Joseph Conrad wrote Heart of Darkness back in like 1920, and so this is actually Dr. Livingston from Heart of Darkness here. She's also one of your assistant principals. She looks really good for 100 plus years old, doesn't she? I'll tell you what. So, at any rate, Dr. Livingston is new to us here at Venice High School, and we are, and me specifically, we're extraordinarily excited to have her. She brings with her a wealth of experience. For those of you who are interested or already in the International Baccalaureate program, she's been at schools that have IB programs. She's also been at Sarasota Military Academy, which I guess is the same place that had the IB program. But she brings with her a wealth of experience that will really benefit you guys here at VHS. So if you haven't had a chance to introduce yourselves to Dr. Livingston, make sure to stop by, see her in the cafeteria, see her in the hallway. She's always on the first floor there and ready to assist you. And at this point, I'm going to kind of turn it over to her so she can say a few words and introduce herself to you.
Hey, good morning. Wow, nice. Like Mr. Terry said, I'm on the first floor, and my alphabet is A to F. So no matter what grade you're in, if your last name starts with an A through F, I am your assistant principal. And so that means that if you get in trouble, anything disciplinary, I'll be working with you. But on the flip side of that, that also means if you need anything, if you can't find your counselor, if you're having a rough day, if you're having an awesome day and you want to share that with somebody, whatever the case may be, I'm right there on the first floor. And in just for proximity reasons, even if I'm not your administrator, feel free to come on by anytime. I'm there to help you guys out and support you in any way I can. So on the flip side of that, if you are going to STC, we're creeping up to that time where you're going to need to leave. So I'm going to meet you over at that door here just in a few minutes, and I will give you this green course selection sheet. And if it's confusing, if you're not really sure what to do with it, make sure you meet up with either your administrator or your counselor after today so that you're caught up on what you need to do for that. And for everybody else, if you want to go ahead and take out your phones right now, you're going to follow the instructions on this sheet, and you will hear more about that in a little bit. So go ahead and take your phones out and enter that number and text that message, and you will be up to speed. So again, Dr. Livingston on the first floor, and if you need anything, I'm happy to help you guys out. Have a great day. Woo!
All right, so everybody has their phones out and is texting that to remind. For those of you who have worked with our counselors before, they try to push out a lot of notifications to keep you informed. And so please, make sure that you take advantage of this opportunity so that they can reach out to you on a more frequent basis. If you don't have your phone with you, have one of your friends maybe take a photograph of the screen for you, and they can send that off to you at a later time. You can log in and use that. So as we embark upon our scheduling process, what I would tell you is that our first priority is to make sure that you are in courses that meet requirements for graduation. So we want to see every one of you a year from now, well, a little over a year from now, walk across the stage out at the football field. And so to do that, we have to make sure that you are in the correct classes to meet graduation requirements. So that's really priority number one for you. Another priority that we have here is to make sure that you have taken a course or multiple courses that lead to either college credit or career acceleration, meaning that you have some sort of skill when you leave our campus. And so for those of you who took digital information technology and you passed those Microsoft Office exams, that would be an industry recognized credential that you could earn here on our campus. So that's another priority, is we want to make sure that we empower you, that we equip you with something extra as you leave Venice High School that will prepare you for your future. Then after that, we really get into the creation of full-time schedules for all of our students on campus. And so we want to make sure that we fill out your schedule and make it a complete schedule, and that includes your graduation requirements and then any electives of interest that you may have. So having said all of that, I think we're to the point where Mrs. Slayton's going to take over. I would ask that you give her your undivided attention, because this is our first step in our process to make sure that we get you into the courses that you not only need, but so desire.
All right, class of 2020. So this will be your last time to hear this, heading into your senior year, which is going to be very important. And believe it or not, it's already time to register and do all that stuff for classes for next year. I think our first goal, maybe like February 11th, somewhere during that week. So we've got probably 3 more weeks before we're actually going to come visit you in your English class, pull you out one-on-one, talk about your schedule. We'll give you your course selection sheet at the end of this presentation so that you can look at it, be discussing it with your teachers, with your parents, maybe even with Rotary, depending on, Bright Futures and where you want to go to school. So just as you're thinking through the process, and then the counselors will sit with you more one-on-one when we're in that English class and help you kind of sort through what you need to sign up for or answer other specific questions at that point. So we got a couple weeks for you to hold on to that sheet and discuss. Those of you that don't know, we did kind of change the alpha halfway through this first semester. So for now, this is Miss Wolf will be A through CE last name, Miss Hopper CH through F. They're both located on the first floor. Mr. Bartlett is G through K. Miss Bartlett is L through O, and they're both on the third floor. Miss Slayton P through SL is what I have now, and Miss Taylor is SM through Z, and we're next to each other on the second floor. Hopefully you know your graduation requirements, and if you have failed anything, just know that you've got to play catch up and maybe add it to your schedule, or if you fail anything this year, we'll be adding it back in the summer. But you need 4 English, 4 math. Of that math, you have to have an algebra, you have to have geometry. The other 2 maths, you can have whatever you want. It would meet the requirements. You've got to pass the EOC for Algebra 1. Science, 3 sciences. Biology has to be 1, and 2 others can be any of your choice. A world history, a U.S. history, econ with financial literacy, which is a half credit, gov, which is half credit, which is, most of you will be taking that your senior year. Those will also count as your online requirement. If you don't have it, econ and gov, we've made a blended model so that it also counts as both. A performing art, a fine art, or a practical art, and that could be chorus, band, journalism, art, DIT, engineering tech, a couple of those things, and we can always ask and make sure you have to have that requirement. Credit of Hope, the virtual school, but like I said, most of you will get the virtual requirement. Sarasota County wants 26 credits, at least the 2.0, and then your FSA. If you haven't passed that yet, you'll be taking it again. In the spring, or sign up for ACT and SAT, so you don't have to worry about that for your senior year. If you need help on this, you can ask your guidance counselor, but most of it is on if you look at your portal, your Crosspoint page, or your report card, you will get grade point averages. And A's give you 4 points, B's give you 3 points, C's 2, D 1, F 0. So if you are making D's and F's and have 1s and 0s, you're not meeting the graduation requirement of the 2.0, which is all C's or above. If you average it in, half credits are half the points, but it all averages and divides out. Again, we can help you if you need help with that. Other ways to earn credits really is just online. The Florida Virtual School or Sarasota Virtual has most any classes you would want, whether it's extra credits, whether it's making up credits, trying to get a higher grade, trying to get anything else that you need to graduate or to get a scholarship is online. This is important too. If you plan on playing college athletics, or you think you are, talk to your coach and then talk to your counselor, because there's also additional requirements depending on the school you would go to for NCAA requirements, and there's an eligibility center to register with, and to make sure you have to have a few other little things than just if you don't plan on playing sports. And if you also think you're going to be playing like NCAA, like our Apex is not an option for you. So just make sure you have all those requirements. Another thing to think about, and if you haven't taken them yet, senior year sometimes is still a good time, again, depending on where you want to go. Hopefully, if you haven't, this year or soon, you'll be visiting Rotary Futures, finding out more about scholarships and maybe where you want to go. Different schools require different things sometimes. So AP/DE courses are always, not only do they look good on your transcript, they're weighted, but you can also earn college credits for it. You pass the AP exam at the end, depending on the score that you get, depending on the college you go to, you could get 1 credit, 2 credits of something that you don't have to take or pay for later on. Dual enrollment is the same way with the college, which we will not have dual enrollment on our campus next year. It will only be at SCF, and actually we have a couple of, the University of Florida have some dual enrollment online. So we'll have a night that you can learn more about that. But if you want to do those or go to SCF, then you can earn the college credits that definitely transfer in-state and usually transfer out-of-state. You just have to talk to the school that you're going to. In order to do DE at SCF, you have to have a 3.0. I think if you wanted to do the UF one, it's 3.5. And then you got to have a qualifying either PERT score, ACT, or SAT. If you think right now you have not done any of these testing, you would like to do SCF next year, or some kind of dual enrollment, and you think you have a 3.0, go talk to your counselor and say, I haven't had the PERT test. So that we can get you on that list. We can PERT test you here, but it's coming up pretty soon. So if that is something and you don't have either qualifying scores or you haven't done any scores, but you think you might want to do dual enrollment, go talk to your counselor. Is that the day? So SCF will also be here on February 21st. I think they'll be here all day. So if you have questions for them, you have an application to fill out, you already have scores, all of that can be done during that day. So you'll hear more about that maybe too. AP, if you haven't taken an AP class, ask some of the teachers you're in, the science, the English, if you should move on or take an AP class next year. Hopefully you're earning A's and B's already that you can have what it takes to be in the AP class. ROTC, which it might be too late for some of you to do it for the 2 years, where you can get rank and things like that, but ROTC, if you also have done 2 years, or if you've done a year now and do another year, that also counts as a performing art, and it also counts as your Hope credit. And if you just wanted it for an elective for your senior year, you could do that as well.
If you are considering dual enrollment, a couple things that we don't like to do, okay? We don't like to make negative phone calls over the summer or even at the semester. So right now, the way we calculate your GPA in this district is if you have a 3.0, you still need to maintain that 3.0 through the end of the year in order to qualify at SCF. And the reason I say that is I don't like to make those phone calls over the summer. I know Mrs. Slayton doesn't like to make those phone calls over the summer to say, we're not sure what happened second semester, but you went from a 3.2 all the way down to a 2.7, and now we have to make a full-time schedule for you here on our campus. So if you are considering dual enrollment and you're in that boat, please understand that this semester is just as important as every other semester when it comes to that overall GPA. And again, we just don't like to make those phone calls, but we had to make quite a few of them at the semester even, where students didn't meet the requirements of SCF, and then they come back to Venice High School. And certainly your options are a lot more limited when you return to us at the semester from a dual enrollment situation. So if that's a path you want to go, just make sure you stay on top of your grades this semester as well as your previous semesters.
We'll be doing a phone call about this, but keep this in mind. You're interested maybe in the dual enrollment opportunities. You're maybe not so much for you guys interested in the IB information. Maybe some AP information you want to hear more. We're doing a night, or you just want to send your parents to find out more. We're doing a night, February 6th in here at 6 o'clock to just kind of, the representatives from those places will come, share their programs, and get more information on all of our advanced placement coursework. All right, senior year, a couple things that have not really been an option to you before can be as you enter your senior year. If you have a 3.0, one thing that you could do is an intern opportunity. So we've got things that are on campus that you could do as an intern. There could be, you get placed off campus, maybe you have something in mind. Maybe Miss Nellis is doing internships, she can help place you. So if it's something getting the credits, you don't earn money for it, but you're getting the experience, maybe something else to add to the resume. You can walk to the elementary school. There's people that go to agility and help there. There's law offices. There's engineering places. So there's places that in your field of interest you can get some intern opportunities. If you wanted to do the medical internship, you have to have a higher GPA of a 3.5. Something else, if you have a job, OJT is available for seniors. You can do 1 period or 2 periods of it. You need to have had at least one in the pathway of the CTE, so you like a DIT, maybe a culinary, maybe the early childhood, the engineering, something along that path, and then you have a job, we can enroll you and you can leave close to lunchtime for 1 period, 2 periods, and go ahead to your job, get paid, but you just have to turn in time cards and things like that. Ms. Brantley's over that. So if you have questions about OJT, you can go talk to Ms. Brantley. You got questions about internship, you can also talk to Ms. Nellis. A couple of things we talked about with CTE, which career technical, the pathway, digital design, business entrepreneur, which this next year, so it's kind of wrong on the sheet, it says legal, but we did legal this year, so we're offering the accounting next year. So any of you that are in legal can write accounting down if that's what you want to take next year. But you had to have had DIT before you enter that. And had to have business before you enter the accounting. Health science pathway, maybe you're already a part of that. TV, if you've had DIT, you can go into TV productions, digital media. There's also a couple other digital courses I'll look at in just a second. The intro to the teaching position, you can enroll in that, or if you've done the first year, then you can go ahead and enroll into the human growth and development. Got the culinary pathways, engineering, foundations of programming. That's also one that you could do if you have had DIT. And if you haven't had DIT and you want it as a class or online or performing art, that's a great credit to have. All right, college is almost here. So really, when you guys hit senior year, as soon as you start the year off, it's going to be very important that you start thinking about colleges, getting serious about what you're selecting, spending a lot of time in Rotary, applying for different scholarships, applying to colleges, writing essays. So it's going to be a busy fall for the seniors. If you are going for Bright Futures, you need to be sure you've been doing some volunteering, getting those hours logged. Be sure that you've registered, like I said, in Rotary with the scholarship database. You need to know your GPA by that point, a weighted GPA and an unweighted GPA. If you have not taken ACT and SAT, and hopefully you have, if you haven't now, as juniors, you need to be taking it this spring. You may need to take it again to get more scholarships for next year, and start visiting schools. Even schools that wasn't on your radar, maybe you never know how you feel, going to the campus, or what area you might like to live in, or what different schools will offer you. You can get a copy of your unofficial transcript. Go visit these places, talk to an admissions person. How does my schedule look? How does it look for my senior year? And then go from there. I've had people do that, and then they come back and say, well, they really don't want me to take this science. They'd rather see, chemistry or something like that. So all that can play a factor into your senior year schedule if you're doing some visiting schools. Bright Futures is a great thing to have if you've got the grades, you've got the scores. Community service is required on different levels, depending on the levels and stuff that you go for. You need to have 2 years of a foreign language, not to graduate high school, but to do Bright Futures and for a lot of the colleges. And just be sure they re-average things. So it might be something that, again, you need to go talk to Rotary about. Am I on the path for Bright Futures? What else do I need to do? What do I need to retake? How many more hours do I need to volunteer? All right, February 11th is when we'll start coming to the classroom. We'll let your teacher know, or you can ask your teacher what day we're actually coming that day, so that you can bring this sheet back with you. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about this sheet before we hand it out, and then if you've got questions about it. So on the front side, it's going to have all your main English, social studies, math, science, which especially as a senior, it's good to pick one in each category. Maybe some of you need more than one. And then the back will have all the electives. Something else new this year that we're going to have I don't know any details about it, but it's going to be a half credit exploring hip hop and lit. So that's a half credit that you could take along with either psych or Holocaust. Most everything else we probably had. A couple, if you're in some of the IB options. Oh, AP Art History, so that'll be a new one. That would count as an art credit as well. Yeah, most things are probably the same. If you're not sure about it, you can make notes. Again, ask your teachers. Now, even though it says, like under English, if you needed an intensive language arts, that doesn't really count as the English credit. But you're either going to do basically the English 4, AP Lang, or Lit. And like I said, we don't have the dual enrollment here, so we're not having the ENC 1101 on our campus. So if that was a college credit you wanted, you're going to have to go to SCF. I think most everything else is self-explanatory. So as you look at it, make notes, maybe make notes in some pencil or something, front and back, talk to some teachers about it, bring it back during the time that we're going to visit your class, and we can help you go from there. So try to do 7 periods if you can. Maybe have some alternates listed. On the back on this sheet too, you will see, it looks like there's big F's in bold. That just means it counts as your fine art or your practical art. All right, we want to start.
All right, as Mrs. Slayton said, we've got the course selection sheets that we are going to place in your hands. A couple of points of note about the course selection sheets. In order to put together the master schedule, we want to be as student interest driven as possible. And so if you think of the schedule that we put together, it's kind of like a big puzzle, except the first thing we have to do is create the puzzle pieces. And what that means is if 60 people decide they want to take AP Art History, that means we need to create 2 sections of AP Art History. But we won't know that information until you guys bring back your course selection sheets. And so with that in mind, counselor visits aren't until February 11th, which gives you some time to sit down with your parents. I would also speak with your teachers to see what they think. So when you're looking at English classes for next year, talk to your English teacher. When you're looking at your math classes for next year, talk to your math teacher. They can be of great guidance to you, but at the end of the day, our goal is that every student will have a course selection sheet turned in. We are hoping that those course selection sheets come back with teacher signatures for courses that that require a teacher signature, so like your AP courses. If not, our counselors are going to have to sign off on those just by pulling up your grades, your GPA. The important piece to this, and this will be kind of a change from years previous, is that we're going to we're going to have a moratorium, meaning we aren't going to see students, okay, until we're going to see you guys beginning on February 11th. We'll make sure to see everybody one time, and then we've got to put a hold on schedule changes or changing requests, because we've got to build that schedule for all of you guys, not only you, but the sophomores and the freshmen, and then next year's freshmen on campus. So keep that in mind. Take this process seriously. We want you to talk this over with your parents. So take these course selection sheets home. Make sure you get parental input. Then talk it over with your teachers so that you get your teacher input, especially for those courses that are going to be those AP, IB types of courses. Make sure you get a signature there and bring this back to your guidance counselor. If you lose your sheet, we will make them available. We'll make extras available in the administrative suites so that you can come and get another one prior to your date of scheduling. Your English teachers, as Mrs. Slayton said, will have all of the information pertaining to your schedules. So before we start passing out the course selection sheets, why don't we give Mrs. Slayton a big round of applause for helping us out tonight. And they are going to begin passing out the course selection sheets. Folks, we've got about 10 minutes total left, so please just stay in your seats. Even after you get that course selection sheet, hang out, you can review that. When the bell rings, we'll go to our next class. Thank you for your attention and have a great day.